Hi, guys. Welcome to another week of online learning and my ELA 11 class. Hopefully, the rest of your classes are going well for you. Um, I know there's a lot of work involved in some of them. I'm going to, like I said in a lot of my comments to you guys, in your notebook journal entries, I'm going to try to keep this as simple and routine as possible so that you know what to count on. As each week progresses, you'll be able to kind of have a routine. So it's good to be back. Hope you had a good weekend. Um, we have a good story to read this week. It's A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. She was a Southern Gothic writer. Well, I mean, she's a short story writer, and she wrote a couple of novels and a bunch of stuff from the mid 20th century. She died relatively young. She was 39. She's from the South. She lived the last 12 years of her life in Milledgeville, Georgia. She was born in Savannah, Georgia. So she's definitely Southern all the way through. She became involved in writing with her high school newspaper, and then continued on through college and went to like a master's program at the University of Iowa, like a writer's workshop that's kind of world famous. And she developed her skills there and continued on with the writing. The Southern Gothic style, or the genre that she writes in, is characterized by kind of the disconnect between how you think of the South, or how a lot of people think of the South, with um, you know sundresses and sweet tea and yes ma'am and all that stuff, in a very polite and like structured society. And then in the Southern Gothic stories, there are people who are definitely outside of that and who go against that. And there's a conflict between like all of the elegance and formalness of the South, as people think of it, and the violence that's there in like kind of the dark spaces. So it's very much the case that you can have like one idea of the South, um, and then you could find out that it can be completely different. And it's not a knock on it. It's just that there's a very Southern image of like this, the Southern gentleman and plantation life and all of that. But like plantation life was built on violence against a whole race of people, and so that's something to kind of keep in mind, right? Like for everything that's out there that's has this beautiful exterior, and is really appealing in a lot of ways. Uh, there's also some pretty bad stuff that can happen, and Southern Gothic writers um, kind of work within that conflict. So there's the idea that there's often people who are either violent, or they have what's called the grotesque. And I think Flannery O'Connor at one point said, Northern readers, or people not from the South, think everything that she writes about is grotesque, until they get to something that actually is grotesque in one of her stories, and then they just think it's Southern, there's something like that. It's a quote from her. So, anyways, I'll show you through screen sharing where we're at, and where you can find the new story, and a couple of other things that we need to know about for today. So you guys already know this kind of stuff. This is a sixth period, and I'm going to jump into files up here at the top. And you can see that there's a folder for this week. And in that folder is the short stories. So that's where you can find the PDF. It's about 13 pages, but like the last page isn't full. and it's very there's a lot of dialogue and stuff. So it's a pretty easy read. As you read it, just kind of focus on like how the grandmother is talking about how she wants things to be back like they were, and how things used to be good and they're not so good, and there's no good men anymore. And then also the idea that, there's this like underlying thing, this escaped guy, the misfit in the story, and he keeps getting mentioned, and that kind of leads us to the idea. It's that there's like a constant foreshadowing of something violent and horrible that may happen. So read it from that perspective. Pay attention to the little clues, and whether or not people are good people, whether they seem like they're not so good, and then you'll have plenty to work with when we start to talk about this and write about it. So going back out of there, I want to go to the class notebook. Just to office hours sign up sheet is here. I added a new tab at the bottom. So last week was 30 March to 3 April. This is 6 April to 10 April. Please sign up if you want. I had somebody meet with me last week. It was a good 20 minutes. We talked about academics and also like missing out on all the things that happen in spring in school and all of that. So just sign up, and I'm there for you. I can help you with the essay that you're going to write this week. I can help you, I can help you with things that you've written for other classes. Just let me know. We can have a Zoom meeting. You don't have to share video with me. The meeting that I had with the student last week was just their picture on the screen, although there was video of me. So just give it a look. If you need some mentoring or tutoring time with me, please sign up. So let's close this out. And let's go to the class notebook. So you remember what this looks like? Here's students, and in there is where I'd find all the journal entries. And for this week, I have what needs to be done each of the days. You'll notice that some of them, like on Thursday, there's a quiz. The quiz isn't going to be posted until Thursday, so you can't just kind of blaze through everything starting on Monday and be done with a week's worth of work on Monday. 10 April, Friday, Good Friday, by the way, is there's an essay. The writing prompt will be in the video for that day, and the assignment won't be open on Turnitin. So some of you have encountered this before, where you started to write something but you couldn't see it on Turnitin yet. So the assignment won't be available on Turnitin until 10 April, and neither will the writing prompt. So some of this is scheduled so that you have to continue to come back day after day and stay engaged. And I think that's important. It's an important part of feeling like you're in school and getting the full experience out of this, right? So we don't want you to be able to just do everything in an hour and 45 minutes of furious work on Monday. We want you to come back each day, stay engaged with the fellow students in your discussion groups, engaged with me through either Zoom meetings. You're getting information from me through the videos, and then you're giving me information back, like speaking directly to me through the journal entries. So that's an important part of all this. And each of those things, whether you're going back and forth with your fellow students, whether you're writing in a journal to me, or you're just watching the video and paying attention to the instructions, those are all skills that are good for us to practice and develop, not only for the rest of your online experience, but also for college and beyond, right? So this notebook, though, has everything you need for the week. I think some people had some good comments about that last week. They said this is like very useful if they forget what was in the video, what exactly the assignment was, they can come back here. Okay, so we have talked about the story, we've talked about the roster, and we've talked about the notebook. So read the story. And then create a journal entry in your personal journey titled "A Good Man is Hard to Find." We're going to add to this journal entry over the course of the week as we write more about this story. And just write down your initial thoughts. So, 2, 3, 4 sentences maybe at the most, just like kind of an opening paragraph. I don't want a summary. I also don't want to know how much you hate reading. That's not really useful to me or to you. It's a waste of a sentence, right? So talk about if the story kind of progressed the way that you thought it would as a narrative. Were you confused by any point of it? Do you have any questions? I mean, you could really, your initial thoughts could be a series of questions that you want answered, either through discussion or, maybe you're going to find out the answers from later videos this week. So if there's some aspect of the story that just was beyond you, like you just didn't get it, which is, nothing to be ashamed of. Like if you read a story and it doesn't stick right at first, that's okay. I mean, that happens a lot. There are people who have it all figured out when it comes to like short stories and literature and things like that, and it seems like they just like are so able to pick out like all of the little details and what everything means and how it all works together. But that's probably because they've spent a lot of time studying it, right? So don't feel bad if you read something and you're just kind of mystified by it right at first. It's not something that's why we read it at the beginning and talk about it through the week, right? So we get a chance to all figure it out together as the week goes on. So write down your initial thoughts in a journal entry titled "A Good Man is Hard to Find." So you should watch the video on Monday. You should review the weekly instructions. You should read the short story. The PDF is in the Files tab in the weekly folder for this week, and you should create a journal entry. So those are your things for today. I think that's probably about it. I'm going to unshare the screen, and we will we'll get ready for tomorrow's work. So let's get this story read. Some of you probably already have, but give it a second read. You'll be better at discussing it. Skim through it if you've already read it. I assigned it like the first week we came back from spring break in kind of a, hey, read this because we're going to use it later. So this is the later. So read the story, be ready for everything. And yeah, we're going to have another great week. It's starting to get warm outside. I moved my desk around. I can see my dog, Penny's sitting out there on the porch. And yeah, this is going to be a good week. I hope everything's going well for you. If you have any concerns, you can message me on Zoom through chat. You can, send me an email, whatever. You can speak directly to me through the notebook entries. So let me know what things you're having trouble with, and I'll try to work with you and help you out as best I can. Okay. Thanks, guys. This has been a really good class. Sorry it's so long. I had at least one student said, not gonna lie, the videos are a little bit long, but so is class. So I don't feel too bad about it. And there's way more people who had good feedback, So get the work done. Email me or message me with any problems that you have or questions, and I'll be back around the same time tomorrow, maybe a little bit earlier with tomorrow's video. All right. Thanks.